Hi, good evening, everybody. Today, we're going to look at an issue that has across the board, both locally in Los Angeles, nationally across the country, and even globally around the world, has become an issue. We're going to look at the issue of homelessness. So, tonight, I'm going to spend a little bit talking about the numbers, the actual numbers of homelessness, and discuss with you Los Angeles County's efforts and the Los Angeles homeless count. And the data that I'm going to be speaking to you tonight about is from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority 2019 point in time count, or homeless count as they refer to it. That was done and completed last year. The homeless count occurs every January, and the results are typically available in May or June. The 2020 count results are not in yet, so I'm referencing the 2019 LAHSA, Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, point in time count, homeless count. Let's talk a little bit about what the point in time count is and why that's important, why it's conducted annually, who mandates that it's conducted, and for what purposes is that information used for. So the point in time counts are actually mandated by HUD, federal agency, Housing and Urban Development. It is part of the continuum of care for each specific agency that receives monies from HUD. HUD distributes monies to each of the Continuum of Care programs throughout the country. In Los Angeles County, the agency that's been entrusted with receiving monies and distributing and making requests for proposals from agencies that serve homeless populations is LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. So LAHSA has to conduct a count yearly so that it can qualify itself and be able to receive monies and distribute that monies to local programs that apply for requests for proposals, RFPs, that are used to deliver services. One important caveat to know about LAHSA is that it does not itself provide services, homeless services. It is merely the entity that is entrusted with receiving monies, making selections for programs to obtain monies to then carry out the service delivery. So LAHSA does not provide services, homeless services itself. It acts as a conduit to the city and the county for programs. It also serves as an overseer of the continuum of care within Los Angeles County, Los Angeles City. The continuum of care is a spectrum of programs from preventative programs all the way through to permanent supported housing and even affordable housing. We'll talk a little bit about solutions. And what we mean by solutions are what are the things that are most viable in creating results in helping to mitigate and helping to prevent homeless populations. And we will discuss that in a little bit. Let's talk about the point in time count. It is federally mandated, as we mentioned. There needs to be a housing and urban development approved methodology, methods to the counts. And the count occurs in four ways. There is a physical street count. Individuals go out into the streets on a span of nights in late January and physically count homeless individuals that they see. There is a shelter count. So individuals that are in shelters are counted, and LAHSA assists with the shelter count. There is a youth count. This is very recent. Uh, Individuals that are identified as youth, transitional age youth, etc., are also counted. And then finally, there's a demographic count where individuals that work with or volunteer for LAHSA go out and actually do a demographic count of the homeless individuals, the demographic count includes an interview that is conducted. So these point in time counts are not just merely counting what we see, it is also doing a bit more in terms of connecting with shelter programs, agencies to actually conduct counts. We know, especially in LA, LA City, LA County, we have a dearth of affordable housing. It is a tremendous, tremendous burden on our population in terms of having the necessary means to obtain housing that is affordable. What is affordable housing? That simply means that individuals or families do not spend more than, greater than 30% of their income towards housing. And we know through data that that simply isn't the case. Housing has become, affordable housing has become a core issue, a driver, a variable in terms of homelessness. It is not the only issue. And sometimes we can, particularly if we're focusing on policy, think of housing, affordable housing, as the magic pill for ending homelessness. It simply is not true. We have to have a wraparound, supported services continuum that includes a robust set of assistance, which includes not just housing that's affordable, mental health assistance, substance use assistance, daily skills, living skills assistance, medication management assistance, awareness of resource. It is a very complex issue. So affordable housing is not the only key. It is one of the pieces of the puzzle that we have to focus on. But it is certainly within LA County City a issue that cuts across all spectrums, not just for individuals that are experiencing homelessness. They are often impacted more disproportionately, but for many families and individuals, affordable housing is an issue. LA is the least affordable housing market in the United States. We have become the least affordable place to live in terms of housing in the United States. Let's look at the numbers. Again, according to LAHSA, Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority 2019, 58,000 people in the county of Los Angeles experienced homelessness. 58,936 people. That was a 12% increase from 2018. In the city of LA, 36,165 people experienced homelessness, a 16% increase. Very much sobering information that we've seen an increase. LAHSA and service providers did a tremendous job, tremendous heavy lifting, placing people in housing, but it's simply not enough. It is simply not enough. And there were 21,631 people housed in 2018. That was simply not enough. We cannot meet the demand of housing for the individuals that are becoming homeless. One of the statistics is that for every 120 people we house, 150 become homeless monthly. That's a sobering statistic. Economic factors are also driving homelessness. So it is not just affordable housing. Wages, low wages, the rent burden. A third of Los Angeles households spend more than 50% of their income on rent. And the lack of affordable housing. Over 500,000 new affordable housing units need to be built in order to meet the needs of renters. And even though there has been preventative measures, locally there was Measure H and HHH, those were simply not enough. Building of affordable and supported housing began in 2019. The first unit of HHH monies was completed and opened at the end of 2019. So we are simply not meeting the pace. The pace of those that are becoming homeless is far beyond the housing that we can build. Tremendous statistic, 44,214 individuals were unsheltered in Los Angeles County. Over 75% of the individuals that were counted from the 58,000 plus individuals were on the streets, were unsheltered. Where were they? 16,000 people were in vans, cars, and RVs. 11,000 were in tents and makeshift shelters, and 16,000 individuals were other unsheltered locales, under embankments, underpasses, etc. When we think about that, and we think about also specifically in key areas where there has been an increase. For example, in terms of families, there's been a 6.4% increase among families in homelessness. 6.4%. Over 8,799 families experienced homelessness. Individuals that were homeless comprised also of the chronic homeless. Now, one of the important policies you should be familiar with is the McKinney-Vento Act 1987. There have been amendments to this act throughout time, and the McKinney-Vento Act was the first federal piece of legislation to specifically address the development of funds to address homelessness. Despite this, we experience homelessness still. And from the McKinney-Vento Act, we have the legal definition, the federal definition of homelessness, which includes those that are chronic homeless, individuals that have been homeless for longer than a year, experiencing 4 or more episodes in 3 years are described as being chronically homeless. Youth homelessness increased in Los Angeles by 24%. And the other impact that occurred was economic hardship. We had 23% of those individuals that were unsheltered were first-time homeless people. 23%, first-time homelessness. So when we think about homelessness, we have to think about the increases. We have to think about the impacts of affordable housing. Now, what can we do to make a difference? What are the ways in which we can develop and create affordable places for our residents, our citizens to live? Well, affordable housing is one piece of the puzzle. The other piece that I discussed is supported services. So we cannot have affordable housing alone. We have to have supported services, wraparound services to create this wellness around individuals that are experiencing homelessness so that they can be better equipped to deal with their daily living, their mental health, their substance use, recovery, wellness, spirituality, wraparound support services. Another piece of the puzzle are preventative, helping those that are the paycheck away from not becoming homeless. Preventative programs such as rapid rehousing programs, where we work with individuals that are already housed, but that may need rental assistance, very important and key piece of the puzzle to the solutions for homelessness. One other final piece that's very important, policies. Development of policies at the local level, at the state level, at the federal level are key. Policies that are robust, that address the development of affordable housing that is also includes permanent supported services is key, and policies that address and include contributions and input from consumers is also very key and important. So when we think about homelessness, we have to think about the increase. We have not seen the 2020 numbers yet. I would imagine, and many individuals that are in social service are saying anecdotally, and I think this will bear out once we see the data, that we will have an increase again, unfortunately, among homeless individuals, among homeless populations, veterans, families, children, transitional age youth, individuals that are coming out of the foster systems, that are aging out. We're going to see those increases, I'm fairly sure. But what we have on the horizon are funds from H and HHH that have been geared towards construction and development of housing. Those projects are on the pipeline, and within 2020 and 2021, we will see those projects come through. Now, the question really is that enough? Is that enough to make a difference, to make a change? So when we think of homelessness, we have to address it from a preventative aspect and across the continuum of care, development of affordable housing, supported, service rich, supported housing with the perspective of consumers is key, and adding the components of prevention, rental assistance, and subsidies. So I know some of this is sobering news. Please, when you think about homelessness, particularly when we see it, please remember most of us, any one of us, is one paycheck away from homelessness. And most of us, and many of us, if we experience a severe medical issue, perhaps we have a mental health break, perhaps we may slip into addiction again, perhaps we lose a family member who is the lifeblood, who is the breadwinner, perhaps we lose our jobs. Those are elements that can create homelessness. It is our neighbors, it is our friends, it is people that we come across in everyday life that are homeless, that are working two, three jobs, making it difficult for them to maintain housing, to choose between housing and food, to choose between school and rent. Those are the populations that we are seeing an increase in. And as social service providers, as clinical providers, it is incumbent on us to work with this population and to advocate to our policymakers to make change, to develop robust policies that address not only issues of affordable housing, living wage, but also in terms of preventative components, in terms of education around mental health stigma, substance use, substance abuse stigma, and the like. I hope this was helpful. Please comment below what kinds of videos you'd like to see. I hope you have a great day, great evening. Take care. Peace, love, and wellness.